Ubisoft is spiraling more than usual. Meanwhile, in the news, Valve is giving gamers a perfect example of what a giant gaming company could be. And Super Smash Bros. Director just recently made an announcement, but the way he made the announcement was pretty unique. Before we talk about that, we need to talk about Netflix's AAA Game Studio. Ironically, the name of the studio is Team Blue. Personally, I didn't even know that Netflix had a AAA game studio. I mean, I knew that they had like mobile games and actually some good games. They have like Hades on Netflix. For this game studio, they were assembling a dream team. They started recruiting huge names from games like Overwatch, God of War, Halo, and some of them were quoted saying things like, "We're making a multi-platform original IP game." I mean, Netflix must have the budget for something like this, right? Apparently not. Before you can get too excited about anything that Netflix might come out with as far as AAA games, Netflix has already closed the studio before they've had the opportunity to make even one game. I guess this just goes to show you that game development isn't Moneyball. You can't just throw money at developers and hope that a magic game comes out of nowhere. You need some kind of clear idea of what you're making before you assemble your team. Next, we need to talk about this man. You might not recognize him, but if you've played Nintendo at all, you've definitely played his work. His name is Masahiro Sakurai, and he's directed tons of games for Nintendo. He's been in the game industry for over 3 decades now, directing games like Kirby and all of the Super Smash Bros. Games. He was even the voice actor for King Dedede in Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Boy, that game brings me back to my childhood. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing him up now is because he just recently made an announcement. And while the announcement isn't specific, the way he made the announcement was just cool. It all starts 2.5 years ago when Masahiro Sakurai started a YouTube channel himself. Now, I'm not jealous, but in those 2 years, he's made over 260 videos and amassed over 600,000 subscribers. His content is about gaming concepts and game development, but he just released his last video for the channel. And if you've watched his videos up to this point, you'll notice that there's a subtle but noticeable difference in his appearance. And that difference is connected to both the announcement and why this is his final video. And that's because all of his videos were pre-recorded years ago. This man came up with 260 ideas, wrote 260 scripts, and recorded 260 videos in the span of a couple months 3 years ago. And his last video was just posted. So why did he do this? Well, it's because he's been working on a game in the background, in secret, for the past 2.5 years. He didn't say what the game was, but he did say we'll get the announcement, quote, sooner or later, and my money's on sooner. But in any case, we can expect a new game coming from Sakurai pretty soon, and I'll keep you updated. If you want to hear the whole story of Masahiro Sakurai, you can find it on his channel, Masahiro Sakurai, and it's definitely worth a watch. I enjoyed the entire thing. He's a pretty funny guy, and it ultimately ends up being pretty heartfelt. And also, let me know if you thought this was as cool as I thought it was, because I just thought it was cool and funny. Next, we're going to talk about the Steam Deck 2, why it's not coming for a while, and why that's great news. Reviews.org sat down with 2 of Valve's Steam Deck designers, and what they had to say was really a beacon of hope in what often seems like a hopeless industry. For example, when talking about the competition for the Steam Deck, they said it's not a laptop and it's not a console handheld, it's a PC as a handheld. In addition, they said, our hope was that we would be able to kickstart this category and there would be more very soon. They go on to talk about the innovations in this space from their competitors and how happy they are for it. And when asked about the Steam Deck 2, they were pretty clear. They said, we're not going to do a bump every year. That's kind of not really fair to your customers to come out with something so soon that's only incrementally better. So we really do want to wait for a generational leap in compute without sacrificing battery life before we ship the real second generation of Steam Deck. This might seem crazy, but it seems like they care about the customers. That they're not just in it to drain our wallets. But that couldn't be, right? That couldn't be possible. And to wrap this story up, they talk a little bit about the design philosophy for the Steam Deck, and it really should be standard practice in the gaming industry, but somehow it's a breath of fresh air. They said the pitch for the Steam Deck was basically, how do I play my Steam games away from my PC? And there are people at Valve who were like, I just want that for me. The point wasn't even to make a product out of it. It was just, let's see if you can actually make something that I would want to use for that purpose. This should be standard in the gaming industry, but so often you hear executives talk about video games, and it sounds like they've never played one. And so it's good to hear people at Valve talking about video games, and it be obvious that they are trying to improve gaming for gamers. Now let's talk about Ubisoft, which is kind of the other side of the coin, right? Ubisoft has been in the news a ton this week for several different things, but all kind of related. Let's start by talking about the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. If you're not familiar with that game, it's the recent Prince of Persia mixed with Metroidvania mixed with Killmonger. That game was released and it didn't do super well in sales. It did sell 1 million copies, but it wasn't as good as expected from Ubisoft. But it was critically reviewed pretty well, and it also had potential for a sequel. But that potential seems out of the door because they just recently disbanded the team that made the game. Ubisoft has reported that they didn't fire any of the developers on the team, they just moved them around to different projects where their talents could be used better. 1 being Layman, 2 being Ghost Recon, and 3 being Beyond Good and Evil 2? And if you don't know why I'm confused about Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's because the original Beyond Good and Evil came out in 2003, the sequel was teased in 2008, and there's been practically no news about it outside of Ubisoft just saying like, we're still working on it, it's still coming. If you're waiting for a sequel longer than Kingdom Hearts 3, then there's clearly some kind of development issues, right? That much is to be expected. But you never know, last time Ubisoft had development issues on a game and delayed it for several years, they created the first quadruple-A game. So you never know, lightning could strike twice. In addition to all that madness, Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed again. They've removed any possibility of early access to the game, and because they've done that, they had to decrease the price of the collector's edition. They decreased it by $50, so now it's a very affordable $230. With games being stuck in development and games being delayed, Ubisoft is kind of like struggling. And honestly, I'm not even mad about it. It just feels sad when I read about it. It feels like they're too big for their britches. So people might be asking, how can Ubisoft stay in business when they're continuously delaying games or getting games stuck in development for decades? Well, the answer maybe is they can't, at least not as they're currently functioning. There have been rumors that Tencent is going to buy out the majority shares of Ubisoft. These rumors haven't been confirmed nor denied from neither Ubisoft or Tencent. But as soon as these rumors were sparked, there was a 30% jump in the stock price of Ubisoft. So I don't know. This is all speculation, this is all rumor, but there might be something to it. The last thing I want to talk about in this video are the games that have just recently been released, what I'm playing, and what you're playing. First, I want to talk about Romancing Saga 2: Revenge of the Seven. It's described as a non-linear JRPG with mechanics that allow you to play across multiple generations. This game has a demo so you can try it before you buy it. It's on PlayStation, Switch, and Steam. The next game needs no introduction or an explanation of what it is. It's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. That game just dropped on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. This is a big weekend for JRPGs. East 10 Nordics is also dropping. That is an action JRPG with real-time combat and naval combat mechanics. Also has a demo so you can try it before you buy it. That'll be available on PlayStation, Switch, and Steam as well. And finally, the last big release of this week is Sonic X Shadows Generations. So this is kind of a remake of Sonic Generations with additional content where you can play as Shadow. Looks fun. If you like Sonic games, definitely worth a try. That'll be available on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam as well. This weekend, I will certainly be playing Romancing Saga 2 and East 10. Let me know what you're playing, whether it's a game I listed or not, or it's an indie game that I might not know about. Let me know in the comments. If you are looking for a game to play this weekend, I just talked about what Metaphor ReFantazio gets right and wrong, and you can watch that video here. My name's Terrence. I'm going to keep playing games till I find the perfect one. Peace, love,